payment system, etc., they have drastically improved the efficiency system in the economies. The cost has come down and our access to the remote area has become feasible. And this we have seen in the COVID time also, where all my faculty, all my teacher fraternity colleagues, they have done wonderful job in immediately shifting online and continuing with the process of teaching, learning, even in the adverse circumstances. So that has proved that how digitalization, how internet and IT based technologies are today integral part of the economies, and we have to embrace this type of change. Maybe there is a threat toward to the employment and maybe other security issues may be there, but all these can be plugged through appropriate technology. And today we talk about the whole world based on this internet technology is interconnected, and we talk about the world which is described in acronym VUCA, which is volatile. Word is very volatile. Ups and downs we find in the stock market, economies, and which is very uncertain. You don't know what is happening in Afghan and how it turns out tomorrow. We find uncertainty because a lot of connectedness today, business supply chain. Professor Garg has mentioned that supply chain disruptions has taken place. Then ambiguity is also the policy clarity on so many things fast changing. What would be labor like in case of India, that how this Vodafone issue was handled. Lot of ambiguity was there, how government will react, and at the same time how the labor laws, what would be the agriculture bills which have been passed by the government, what would happen to them. All these uncertainties, this make the decision making very complex in today's world, and therefore there is a need in this troublesome time that we need to build the capacity of the organizations to learn, connect with this all you can say world, and develop the decision making capabilities of the employees, and also how they envision, how they think about the future. Can they visualize the future? We cannot predict the things so precisely as we try in this uncertain world, but at least we can enhance the capacity of our people, of our staff, to think of different scenarios so that we can have a contingency plan in the time if all of a sudden things changes. All of a sudden, classes were shut down, so immediately we have to shift to different strategies. So what we need is we need to train our staff, employees, so that every time they are reskilling, upskilling takes place, and they know how they can handle the different changes which are taking place. So this is the lesson in the COVID scenario. And the third thing I would point out here is that sustainability. Friends, we all know that if you look at the 20th century data, then we find the growth rate, GDP we talk about, that was the maximum, around more than 3.5% or something at the world level. In India also, during the last 25-30 years, our growth rate has been more than 6.5% on an average. But at the same time, there are concerns in the society, and the biggest concern worldwide we find is that inequalities are growing. Inequalities are growing. People are becoming rich and becoming rich, and all this is creating a social tension, concern in the society. Environmentally, we find that environment has become fragile. All components, we talk about soil, we talk about water, we talk about air quality, all this has deteriorated, has become fragile, and people now say world is on the edge. This is the right time to change our behavior, to change our consumption pattern, to become more organic, natural. This is the only way. Otherwise, we find so many floods, hurricanes, earthquakes, natural disasters, and ice is melting in the polar region. We fear that the cities on the bank of these oceans, they some way water level will go up, and this will create a lot of problem for them. So all these environment related issues are there, and people on an average say that the rate at which we are using the resources from the earth, this is exceeding the limit at which the earth can provide. Now, roughly, if I say if the capacity of the planet is 1, we are using the resources to the extent of 1.5, which means 50% more than its capacity. And if we continue with this process, so definitely on environment front, we are going to face the problem. So this is the time we need to think about the sustainable development. Sustainability means the three perspective. I would like to say that economically our the operation should be viable. Socially, it should not result in inequalities and a lot of strains and stress to the weaker section of society, and environmentally our behavior should be connected with the nature. And the economist perspective to focus only on GDP number, that has not worked very well, and that has created many problems for the underdeveloping countries especially, and therefore they need to at the same time we find the development process is not sustainable on account of the fact that growth is becoming more and more jobless. Growth is taking place, economies are growing, but jobs are not growing. So this is a major concern. And technological intervention, which is happening at a fast rate, they are creating a problem, may create further problem. Fourth industrial revolution 4.0 technologies characterized by IoT, artificial intelligence, blockchain, etc., they are taking away, eating the routine type, repetitive types of jobs which we used to find in banks and other offices. And the trend is that if this process continue, then definitely it will create a problem unless and until we also develop our manufacturing capability to be a leader in these technology, which is not happening over the period of time. We missed all three revolution. We only pray and that fourth revolution, industrial revolution, we should not miss. So this is the another thing I would like to point out. And the fourth trend, which is now in the post-COVID scenario, which has taken place, is the deglobalization. Earlier, we used to have a globalization process. From 1991, we find that integration of economies has taken place, supply chain integrated, and the movement of people from one part of the country to other has increased. But at the same time, because of the dysfunctionalities of this process of development characterized in this market-based economy, they has also created many problems, which I mentioned: poverty in this post-COVID scenario, unemployment, inequality, environment has become fragile. All these things have also, I mean, a sort of a thinking has been created in the economies, whereby more and more economies now they talk about strengthening their domestic economy. We find Brexit is an example. During the Trump time, he also talked about America first. We also, the concept of Atmanirbharta or self-reliance, etc., whatever name we give it, this is also characterized by the fact that this process of globalization has not benefited much Indian economy, and we need to strengthen our local cities, villages, states, and then based on them, we need to strengthen our economy. If we strengthen our economy, then maybe we will be better able to solve our problem. So this process of deglobalization is also taking reverse globalization, you can say, and the demand is rising on account of, you can say, these factors. And this even distribution of vaccine, etc., we find developed countries have taken maximum doses of the vaccine, but African and developing countries, the population maybe in developing country, maybe 3, 4, 5% of their population has only been vaccinated. So this process of globalization, people are becoming more uncomfortable now. And if problems are not addressed, then it may lead to the process of deglobalization, where more focus would be on domestic economy. And we have to see how we in India we take advantage of this situation. Then the another trend which is taking place is the because of growing unemployment problem in the country. Now people have rightly started talking about innovation and entrepreneurship. India is a country which is full of ideas. India is a country of youths. More than 60% of the population is of below 35 years of age. Population dividend we talk about, and population dividend should not become a liability. Therefore, these youth must be meaningful engaged in some productive activities. And simply if we are equipping them with degrees, that will not work. So therefore, we need to create a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, not the mindset where everyone gets education to get a government job. Government jobs are very, very, very limited. Only in a year, if I give you data, maybe 1 lakh jobs are in the government sector every year, if we include center, state, and other all states, etc. So 1 lakh is not a big number in a country like India. So we need to strengthen our domestic sector, small scale industry, medium enterprises, industrial cluster like in Panipat. Focus on education sector, which is practical, which prepare youth who, instead of being the job seeker, they become the job provider. And I would request the Professor Garg also that please think of that we develop a mindset of the youth in the college, so that they start earning during learning process. While they are in getting education in the college, they also start thinking of doing some part-time type of activity, so that Panipat is full of economic activities, we know. So during if they do this, their confidence will be very high, and they will never face the problem of or think of getting jobs, etc. Now the confidence of the student we find is low because they don't have the practical exposure of doing things at the ground level. So innovation, entrepreneurship, this is the call of the day. Government has started so many startup schemes and Mudra scheme. All these schemes are going to benefit, equip the student in getting funding, and incubation centers are being promoted. And Indian environment today is not simply restricted to few activity. We have social entrepreneurship. Student can think of their own venture in IT infrastructure, rural industries, health, education, and even this waste management. Waste could be converted into wealth in a big way. Small, venture could be started in all villages, whereby you can convert biomass into biofuels, and this so many byproduct could be developed of the waste we through municipalities and other things. But the only thing is that we need to shift their mindset towards creating their own business through innovative steps. Lastly, I would say that India, as far as the formal economy of the India is concerned, that is in the present government, it has increased in the size, but at the same time, informal sector, which is characterized by rediwala, this small retail shoppers and maid servants and other people, this delivery boys due to e-commerce growth, etc. This is increasing in a big way, but their income is very low. Their productivity is also very low. We need to have some vocational training programs, short-term courses whereby we enhance their working, their understanding and their familiarity with the IT skills, so that once the training takes place and their productivity increases, their income will automatically be high. Otherwise, they are in a trap whereby they get very low income. But informal sector is very big in size. Maximum jobs are created in the informal sector. Then in the formal sector, we need to take care of this sector. So in nutshell, I would say that Indian economy is transforming itself in a big way. Huge opportunities are being provided. Our economy is not restricted to few sector. It has grown in number of sector. More and more opportunities are being provided to the youth. Time is of entrepreneurship and innovation. Time is of making a lot of changes in the educational sector, so that the student get the right type of skill, temperament, mindset to be a job provider, not job seeker. If these types of things are taken care of, I think the objective of Atmanirbhar Bharat given by the Honorable Prime Minister, that would be achieved, and I believe this IB college will take the lead in doing that and make Panipat not only Atmanirbhar but will be an international city of high growth export potential. With these words, I thank all the organizers, Professor Ajay Garagji, Professor P.K. Narulaji for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, sir, for valuable insights. It was a pleasure listening to you. Thanks a lot, sir. May I request all of you to please switch on your videos so that we may have a group photograph. Please switch on your videos. Thank you all. It's a privilege for me to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Tejinder Sharma. May I request you to please mute yourself? and switch off your audios. Professor Sharma is presently working as just a minute, please. There is some technical problem. We'll continue in 2 minutes. It's a privilege for me to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Tejinder Sharma. Professor Sharma is presently working as Chairman of Department of Commerce, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, and President of HCMA. He has more than 23 years of corporate, academic, and research experience, and his research interests are marketing to subsistence marketing places and corporate social responsibility. He has over 50 publications in journals of international and national repute. He has completed one UGC-sponsored major research project on potential and consumer behavior of subsistence marketplaces, a study in Haryana. He has successfully organized 7 international and national conferences in India and abroad. He has been a member of University Court, Academic Council, selection committees, DRS committee, boards of studies of several reputed universities. He has guided many PhD scholars towards their research degrees and has chaired sessions in various national and international conferences. Besides being an academician of repute, Professor Sharma held several administrative positions in the university. He has been Program Officer NSS and Director Public Relations. He superheaded the digital campaign of the university and acted as nodal officer of CM's window and is committed to transparency and efficiency of the systems. He has also been the director, youth and cultural affairs of the university. His leadership qualities give an inspiration to the youth, and he is looked upon as respectable teacher, accomplished academician, able administrator, and a good human being. Very sorry to say that due to some unforeseen circumstances, Professor Sharma could not join us. I wish he would have been here today and would have enlightened us with his profound knowledge. But as the saying goes, uncertainty is the essence of life and it fuels opportunity. Let's hope for the best. We have with us a very knowledgeable and dynamic personality as invited speaker. I'm talking about Dr. Pradeep Singh Johan. Dr. Johan is a noted economist. He has been visiting professor to many world-renowned institutions and universities, including University of Oxford, Paris School of Economics, University of California, Berkeley, USA, Tokyo University, Tokyo, etc. He is MPhil gold medalist and doctorate in economics. His illustrious academic career also includes a prestigious French government fellowship from the government of France, for which he pursued his research and teaching at Paris School of Economics, Paris. He has been Agatha Harrison Memorial Fellow at St. Anthony's College, University of Oxford from 2007 to 2010. He has already published 15 books. He's an expert in the development economics, economics of climate change, and the world economy. Dr. Johan has completed many major sponsored international and national research projects and has authored many quality research publications, including Sage, Oxford, Springer, and Routledge. He is also a reviewer of many prestigious journals and a member of many international and national academic bodies. He has presented papers in various international and national conferences. Dr. Pradeep has been honored with many international and national awards for excellence in academic research. He has been a President of India nominee to highest governing body, Executive Council of Central University of Haryana, and member of Executive Council of Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra. He is the Chancellor's nominee to many universities for selection committees and academic bodies. Recently, there is an Indo-Japan joint research collaboration. He is the lead collaborator of this joint project. He has appeared on national and international TV channels for debates and panel discussions, including BBC Japan TV, TV5 Paris, and CNN. He wrote many articles in national newspapers and magazines. He has successfully organized many international and national conferences, and the list is endless. Sir, we are privileged to have you with us today. I once again welcome you and request you to please deliver the talk. Please, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
For good words for me. First of all, I thank the organizer for inviting me. I was listening Professor Mittal just before his introduction, He had a very elaborated presentation. So Professor Garg, Professor Narulaji, Professor Rajji, all the colleagues of Higher College Panipat and all the participants who are participating in this national conference. First of all, I really would like to congratulate the organizer for selecting such a, I can say, important or relevant topic in the present circumstances. And when I was, looking the sub-themes also, and they are very, very relevant. So I congratulate you for that. And Professor Mittal has given us an idea that how the world is feeling change after this, COVID-19 pandemic. And the title of this conference, like Paradigm Shift in Business Environment, is relevant in the sense that, yes, there is definitely, we can say, is certainly a paradigm shift in the business environment. If you see, the things are changing so fast. You see, just a few years ago, we were talking like there is a problem of energy. There was one, this documentary by one vice president of US about the climate change and the, shortage of energy in future and what will happen. Aeroplane will not fly like this. But the innovation had changed that perception. Today, you see the problem of energy is, was sorted out, and we are going to have good renewable sources of energy. And now the other problem is there, that what will happen in the Middle East countries and the OPEC about the petroleum products. Because the renewable sources are going so fast in India also, like solar energy and renewable energy. Similarly, talking about just we can have energy from the water. So this is already in different part of the world, it is working. So see, the energy scenario is changing. And other thing, as Professor Mittal was also mentioning, and it is in your sub-theme also, the artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is changing the world, in such a fast way that many thinkers are actually worried why it is going so fast. Even, Elon Musk, who this started this car Tesla in US, and he's talking that we should go slow for this artificial intelligence. Otherwise, the artificial intelligence will start controlling the human being. Right now, till today, the artificial intelligence is controlled by the human being. So that is another, scenario which is emerging. There are many other scenarios, as Professor Mittal also mentioned, about all line marketing, chain marketing, and how is emerging, right? And similarly, things are changing in the banking sector also. So if you see the overall changes which are happening, and after this pandemic, COVID-19, the really we have to think, and we have to carve our developmental path for the betterment of the people. There are some worries, like Professor Joseph Stiglitz, who is a Nobel laureate. He said, actually, we need a comprehensive rewriting of the rules of economics. Yeah, we are hearing and reading so much about two types of socialistic system and the capitalist system, but or communism or capitalism, but both systems seems to be failed. Actually, you can see the problems of underdevelopment, poverty, starvation, climate change. Yeah, they are like emerging more and more. So we started talking about the inclusive growth. We started talking about the sustainable growth. So we are talking about, like how the global poverty, which is still in huge amount if you go to Africa and even in India. So these are the things which are really making the point which you kept the title of this conference. Why actually, before elaborating how this paradigm shift in business environment, one developmental economist, you must have heard G.M. Meyer, who wrote a very, very important book, Leading Issues in Economic Development. He said, I quote him here, "An economist is both a trustee of the poor and a guardian of rationality," unquote. But the distance between the two remained a chief concern for him. As trustee for the poor, the economist respects the values of altruism and economic justice. As guardian of rationality, the economist respects self-interest and efficiency. But does not the future course of development depend in large part on the capacity to combine the seemingly incompatible values of the trustee and the guardian? So he said that, can the professional developer combine a warm heart with a cool head? So the economists are raising this issue because, you see, if you talk about India, India started its developmental process after getting independence in 1950s, and we started with the Nehruvian model, which we call sometimes the copy of the Feldman model. In India, we call it a Mahalanobis model, and in 60s, 70s, 80s, the Nehruvian model was dominating the Indian economy. But despite this, India lost the opportunity to be a part of Asian miracle. We missed that, as Professor Mittal was also mentioning, that we missed many revolutions. And the path of development in India was mainly driven with the rapid expansion of high-end knowledge-intensive sectors. And it comes with the tragic neglect of low-end labor-intensive mass manufacturers. So from an agriculture-dominated economy, India straight away jumped to an economic structure, albeit with a transition period of 3 or 4 decades, in which services and high-end manufacturing assumed the lead role. So this developmental path was not only inequitable in the extreme, but it is also a prescription of economic, political volatility, and is definitely not a sustainable development model. We are talking about India. So as Professor Mittal said, that the developmental path was jobless economic growth. How this developmental path can be directed from jobless growth model to employment-led growth model should be the new mantra for the new model of economic development. So if you see the experience, as I mentioned, of India, we don't want to go in history like the if we talk about the civilization dating back to 5000 BC or even after that. India was a very rich country with rich cultural heritage, with intellectual capacity and enlightened leadership. So but this post-colonial period, which have seen this Nehruvian, we can say the model, which we can say was state-directed developmental model, or strong inward-looking bias was there in the model. So now you see, up to 1990s, this model had made a situation in 1990-91 when we had a big economic crisis. We didn't have even money to import the 2 weeks. So then there was another paradigm shift in 1991, and we adopted a policy we call it liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So we call it economic reforms. That is also a matter of discussion whether it was economic reforms or not. So in today we can say that this economic reforms paradigm shift in 1991 after the you can say the failure of the Nehruvian model, and our economy, how it was in doldrums, and gold has to be mortgaged for running the government. So that situation emerged in 1919, and then we adopted this economic reforms model. So if we come to the present scenario, which emerged after pandemic, the government of India has taken this point of time as an opportunity and announced this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. And they said there will be 5 pillars of this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, which is also, we can say, as you rightly mentioned, the paradigm shift of business environment. If you see the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan in itself a paradigm shift, as Professor Mittal also mentioned many things about how this paradigm shift. You can see that how we are talking about, about the economy. We talked about 5 pillars like the economy, infrastructure, demography, systems. and demand. So, in under these 5 pillars, we are talking about like vocal for the uh, local products, and we are talking about our own companies should take the lead, should reduce the dependence, and we should go for this already coined that word in 70s, the self-reliance. So that paradigm shift is there in this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Now, how this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan can work for the in the context of this paradigm shift of business environment. As I said that even recognition revolution, many developmental happenings like the Asian miracle, which happened in the East Asian economy, and we call the tigers of the economy like Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore, and then China and Vietnam also actually included in that miracle of the tigers of the economy. So why we missed that actually, this Asian miracle? Many people, many economists talked about that, why it happened. But yes, actually inherent weaknesses of the economy still we can see, and among them is like the most important, as Bhagwati ji also said, that the education, health, and you can say the lesser labor intensive technique, or I should say the techniques were not labor intensive in India. We adopted, very high-end technology, and we ignored the, labor intensive techniques. So, but there is a success story of Indian economy also. Even we missed the Asian miracle, we missed the revolution, but all of a sudden we see that there was some advantage in Indian economy, and it was because of IT or IT enabled services, biotechnology, and pharmaceutical. Okay, so where knowledge inputs prove the key source of comparative advantage. So India's advantage in these activities arises from a strong university educated middle class, translating labor abundance into skill abundance, and the public investment in science and technology, or we can say the science and technology research. So this story of India's economic emergence, coupled with the diversity of its experience in the IT and pharmaceutical sector, makes it evident that the Indian model of development cannot be fully comprehended with a broad brush analysis of its transition from an inward-looking policy regime to a more open and liberalized economic development policies, ranging from higher education and ST research, science and technology research, to product reservation and the IPR, intellectual property right, also played a role in India's economic emergence in one way or other. So that is a positive thing which happened in India is IT sector and this pharmaceutical sector. You see, even in the pandemic, our how people were talking that India is becoming a world pharmacy, although there are some inherent problems are there. But India has shown its leadership in the pharmaceutical, even in development of vaccines and the medicines supplied to you know more than 100 countries from India. So that was there. But as I mentioned earlier also that India actually skipped the middle phase of expansion of secondary sector. If you see the difference between India and China, that is the major difference, that China's manufacturing secondary sector is, very important, playing very important role. But in India, the secondary sector was not so vibrant, which it should be. That's why we jumped to the service sector, and in service sector where we are, not giving the number of job we needed, and as well as we were not giving the job with good salary, and we call it a sometime underemployment. We are giving the jobs of like delivery boys and such kind of small jobs, but we are not giving the good salary jobs. So why it happened? I don't want to go in the theoretical explanation of that, but there is a lot of discussion about the adoption of the path of development. If you go, many works are there that which path we should adopt. There are some in India. India's economy is a profit-led actually growth model. We are dependent on yes, we are not talking about the focusing on employment-led, or where the higher wage share would stimulate aggregating. Although in all Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, you see the first package was of 20 lakh crore, second package was again 6.7 lakh crore, and but in that package, the major, you see, thing which should be there, that we should focus India particularly on the wage, wage-led growth and wage share. Like, continue. How much time I can speak more, please?
Sir, you can speak up to 11:15 a.m. We have enough time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I was talking about the developmental model, and there are many studies at the international level, like the study of Meyer, the study of Walls, Boyer. They categorize the economy which economies are profit-led, which economies are wage-led. And you will be surprised that our Indian economy is profit-led. I'll just give what is the difference between profit-led and wage. The corporates, they will earn the profit and then they will reinvest. And higher the profit, their higher profit depends on the lesser wages. Lesser the wages, higher will the profit. That is the crux of that profit model. But other model, that is employment-led or wage-led model. If you see the model of like Japan, South Korea, Sweden, China, and up to some extent even US, wage-led growth model is important. You see, there is some, not a clarity in the policy makers that if we increase the wages, what will happen? Wages will increase the cost of production and then lesser profit. But that is wrong. In the economy where the wages are high, if the wages will be high, the demand will be high. And when the demand will be high, that will, converted into through effective demand and through multiplier, it will increase the overall income many times. So we, particularly country like India, we should focus on wage-led, not only the labor intensive, but the quality labor intensive with higher wages. Although there are some labor laws are coming there, although I am not in favor of those labor laws because they give more power to the corporate sector, lesser to the this labor sector. So we should concentrate on that. And concept is not just of so if is the wage share in the economy, that will affect not only the aggregate demand, it will affect material. And there are many studies in long-term effects of wage expansion, and they are in the favor of the economy. So in that way, we should also reconsider our policies, and we should adopt this kind wage-led growth strategy with pro-labor distribution, social and labor market policy, along with the proper regulation of the financial sector, including a reduction in income claims of top management and reduction in claims of those collecting interest and dividend payments. So this is very important, and the wage share and distribution policies should also be, the inequalities in the economies are very important aspect, and inequalities are increasing in India also. You see, even after this pandemic, there was a surprise data that the 30 corporates of the country, their wealth increased enormously in last 1.5 years, even more than 35%. So what does it mean? It means the inequalities are increasing. The lower wages people, their wages are declining, and the corporate profits are increasing, so that increasing the inequality. So that is also a very matter of concern. So similarly, in the financial sector also, we should think about the employment-led growth. that is an opportunity now with the country after this pandemic. We should revisit our policy, and we should also the financial sector. Financial sector always should not be like thinking about only the corporate sector. We should think about the overall economy, and the labor laws to protect the wage earners with that, and we should adopt such fiscal and monetary policy. As after this pandemic, this discussion is going on, and I was mentioning Professor Stiglitz also, that in India also you see the monetary policy, the policy of RBI, that they are time and again saying that, oh, our concern is inflation. As Professor just said. So similarly, okay, fiscal policy, they are made for the internal balance, but they should be again more towards employment focused model, and we should select such sectors like if you see in India, which is you see the unemployment rate is increasing. Even before pandemic, there was a data that the historical unemployment rate in India, and in 1920 this. After pandemic, the growth was minus 23 in one quarter. Again, there was minus 7.9 in another quarter, and due to that, the unemployment rate was also very high. So, given that point of view that the unemployment is so high in India, what should be the actually focus of the fiscal policy? We were talking about like expansionary monetary policy or expansionary fiscal policy. Our monetary policy objective should be, reformulated. It is not only inflation they need to control; they should focus on other part of the economy. Similarly, fiscal policy, we had a huge scope for the fiscal policy, particularly after this pandemic. We should go for, lot of public expenditure. Where should it be the expenditure? Particularly on infrastructure. In that, if you see, the solution lies in three things. One, I was sharing one conference with Professor Paul Collier, who wrote a book, Bottom Billion, in Oxford. He said the India solution of development lies in three things, and one is infrastructure, second is infrastructure, and third is infrastructure. So when you see, if you want to develop economy, invest huge in infrastructure, like China did actually. China is taking a lead from India because they have much better infrastructure. So if we invest in that, the economy can be competitive, more employment, and more. Now, If you sector-wise, as I was talking about at times, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, you know, uh, even in the pandemic, that can be a panacea for the economy, as even if the economy was minus 23%, the agriculture sector was growing with 3.4%, and again next year 3.4%. So agriculture sector is very important, and from that point of view, um as you know that highest population is dependent on agriculture, or even the agriculture sector is a major supplier of the raw material to the basic industries, whether it is jute or cotton, sugar, vanaspati, plantation. Similarly, many industry like handloom, weaving, oil crushing, rice husking, and so many agro-based industries. So we can't say that agriculture sector is meant only for agriculture. It is also important for the manufacturing sector. Okay? So if you see the role of agriculture and interdependence between agriculture and industry, they are dependent on some linkages. One linkage is the production linkages, demand linkages, saving investment linkages. So, from that point of view, agriculture sector is very important, and for that, we should focus on agriculture sector from these point of view. First, like the credit flow in the rural economy. So, the credit flow is very important. Although there are many schemes, policies for credit flow, but it's very, very low. If you compare the sector, it is a huge credit flow in the rural economy is required. Huge public expenditure, world class health, education, sports, enable services, sports, energy, and other social overhead will not only transform this sector but also stop the migration. We should think about the world-class infrastructure in the rural sector. That is very important for Indian economy. That will stop the migration also, as Professor Mittal was saying that the lot of migration is going on. And rural cluster, there is a term are urban clusters. If you talk about the Gram Swaraj, Mahatma Gandhi also talked about Gram Swaraj. So for that, we should focus on rural cluster, food processing parks for the minimum in farmer should be ensured. So also strengthen. So with with the understanding of the agriculture and rural sector. When we talk about agriculture sector, that is something else. And when we talk about agriculture and rural sector, that become a huge. So without concentrating on rural sector, we cannot talk about the inclusive or the sustainable economic growth. So now, when we talk about this paradigm shift, so for that actually we should reorient our policies. We should talk about the way we cannot focus like on our economy. Okay, we are talking about the Swadeshi, we are talking about our self-reliance, but at the same time, we should seek what benefit we can take from the international trade, like the import substitution industrialization or export-oriented industrialization. Both type of industrialization are necessary. So the dual track for the international trade we should adopt. There is also paradigm shift if you see in the global governance also. The multilateral treaties are failing. Even WTO is not working now. Maybe better after this Trump was replaced by Biden, but the multilateral treaties, they were not working, and again the world was going towards the bilateral treaties. So we should think about those things. Although we refuse to join the RCEP, but there are many views that although we refuse the joining the RCEP because of China, but there are some other countries also there. How we can develop our multilateral treaty with those countries, that is very important. So in the international scenario also, we have to see where our economy can action. With all these, again, I'll come to the point which I mentioned in the beginning, that actually, if you see, very changes are very fast, and after this artificial intelligence and other innovations that I was talking about, the energy, now we have to change ourselves, our policies, even I'm talking about infrastructure and then education, new education policies there, but more skill-based, education is required. Professor Mitchell mentioned about that in detail. So, what kind of skill we require? And we should also focus on many areas outside the world where we can excel. Like pharmaceutical is there, but there are some part of the world where we can provide them many services, whether they are engineering services, medical services, even teaching services. So overseas that sector need to look after, because the perception about this overseas brain drain has changed now. Earlier we were talking about, okay, there will be a lot of brain, but when the remittances coming from about 17 million Indians who are living abroad, sending $80 billion, highest in the world. So that will become a very important sector. So we should focus on that, how we can excel that sector after elaborate study of the economies of the countries of the globe. We can concentrate on that also. And in India, if we come to this MSME sector, which is very important, and how this informal sector, as Professor Mittal has already talked about that, is important. That is also one area of concern, change, which we should focus. And now, in the new scenario of economic development, the climate change is very important. You see what is happening, globally, even in India, due to this climate change. And as there is a definition given by the UNDP about the sustainable development, that we should take care of the future generation. And if today we will, exploit the resources beyond generation, so we should. Good news that there are alternative sources of energy, as hydropower was there, solar, wind, and they are making progressively transition to the clean energy. That is very important, and we should also focus more on that in India. Although Indian target for solar energy is going well, but it should be more. So climate change, why? Because even Gandhian approach, if we see about the harmonious existence of mankind with nature and ecology based on equity and justice. He said in 1924, I quote, and Gandhi, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not any man's greed. But the other way around is going on, that the consumer is so high. So that is a matter of concern. We should think about that. Even the Nicholas Stern Committee report on global warming and global economy also underlined the and it observed that at current rate of consumption of resources and energy of planet, mankind require more than one planet for survival. We need to remodel our outlook and achieve the goal of sustainable development by adopting a combination of factors which include adoption of clean technology, equitable distribution of resources, and addressing the issues of equity and justice. We can make our developmental process more harmonious with nature. So that is very important. Some more points I would like to add for the how this paradigm should include that. That is one is decentralization. The fiscal, political, administrative. Although there is a decentralization, you can say political or administrative, but not. So that should be there. The Article 243 in India gave the decentralization, but there should be a decentralization of fiscal taxation, like how much Panipat contribute to the exchequer through taxation. Now there should be some mechanism that some taxation should be kept with local administration, so that the benefit of that taxation which Panipat is giving should reach to the people who are working for that. So There are some mechanism globally, so we should think about that. The decentralization at fiscal level. So with these points, I think this topic is very relevant, and it should be given more
Hello teachers. Personal social qualities are those that help us to understand and build, maintain
because
effective relationships in our personal,
now
professional and social life. As
we
you progress
cannot
learning more about
actually
these qualities
wait
and the skills through
for
which these qualities can be nurtured and practiced in your
we
everyday
cannot
life,
wait much
you will learn that
for
being
the
open to others' perspectives,
changes.
understanding
We
others
should
as well
actually
as your own belief system, etc.,
think
helps to
fast
practice these personal
and
social
do the
qualities.
fast.
The objective is
As
mainly to understand the
you
personal social qualities, reflect on your own personal social
mentioned in
qualities
this
and the skills so that you can nurture the same in your students. The
in
purpose of
your
practicing these
brochure
qualities
also,
is to create
how
a healthy
these all
environment in the
aspects
school
are
and in your
important,
classroom where all the
and
participating members feel
with
that they are
the
accepted, respected,
digital
cared for, and where all are genuinely
this
concerned for each other's
online
well-being. The content is in
internet
3 broad
age,
parts. First part
the
focuses on developing
cyber
understanding about
age,
1. Perspective
the
taking,
world
2.
has
Personal social qualities, 3.
completely
Opportunities in
changed,
school where
and we have accordingly. We should also actually focus now on the new generation for the, and we should also focus also that this changes and pass on to the this word. I think I should stop now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with knowledge. We really enjoyed your presentation and learned a lot. Thanks a lot, sir. With this, let's move to the end of inaugural session. I wholeheartedly thank Professor R.K. Mittal and Dr. Pradeep Singh Johan for sparing time for us. I also thank all the dignitaries, staff members, and delegates for being with us. We will meet in the first technical session at 11:20 a.m. Wishing you all a great learning experience ahead. Thank you so much.